All right, so day 3 of Book of Proverbs. So in the month of December, I'm going over one chapter each day. And the chapter 3 basically talks about this elixir of life that will add life and peace to our days. And it's a pretty long chapter. It has 35 verses. So I'm going to break it down into like 5 different parts. So verse 1 and 2 talks about how obeying God is not a punishment, but protection. And how if we keep his word, we're not losing freedom, but we're actually guarding our own lives. So it starts by saying, my child, never forget the things I have taught you. Store my commands in your heart. If you do this, you will live many years and your life will be satisfying. So it gives us like a condition, but then a promise. On the next part, it talks about this character that opens doors. And there's 2 things that we should keep tied around our neck, which is love and faithfulness. Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people. You will earn a good reputation. So it talks about like not a fake kindness, but real, genuine kindness. And then how we should keep that no matter what. And through that, we'll find favor, not only with God, but with people. On the next part, between like verses 5 and 8, which is a very famous Bible verse, it talks about how we should not trust, we should not lean in our own understanding, but we should trust God in everything. So verse 5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. A lot of the times we hear follow your heart, but God is actually telling us to do not lean on your own understanding, but to follow what he has to say to us, and that he will give us our path, that he will give us direction, he will give us a strategy. We need to take everything to him instead of following our own desire, our own hearts, and our own understanding of things. Verses 9 through 26, it talks about money, discipline, and wisdom. And it talks about how honoring God with our wealth and with our first fruits. So it talks about the 10%. It talks about tithing. It's not about bribing God, but to trust him with the best of what we have, to give him first, that he will, because we trust that he will bless the rest. It talks about how God will discipline us not as a punishment, but as correction to keep us on the right path. We talked about on chapter 2 about obedience and disobedience and how one leads to death and the other one leads to life. So God disciplines us not to punish us, but to ensure that we're staying in his path. Because once if we rebel against God and we start doing our own things, we start walking away from the path of life. So the discipline is because God loves us so much that he knows we'll make mistakes. So he disciplines us. He allows things to happen in our lives so we'll stay on the right path. Then it talks about wisdom and how wisdom is the tree of life, and how following the wisdom, which is like this personification of God, because wisdom is a divine gift from God, that by following his wisdom, by following and obeying his commands, we will have a long and satisfying life. On verse 18, we'll say, wisdom is a tree of life to those who embrace her. Happy are those who hold her tightly. And then he goes into like telling us, my child, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hold on to them, for they refresh your soul. They're like jewels on a necklace. So he keeps telling us to keep this as a reminder. Like he mentions the necklace. So this is always tied around us. It's always with us as a reminder of God's will for us. So then it ends from like verse 27 to 35 by telling us that we should always do good even with those that don't do us good. That we should always choose to help those if we can. That we should not wait to help someone if we have the ability to help that person right away. That we should not envy. That we should not be violent. That we should not follow the path of the wicked people. It ends by saying, the Lord curses the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the upright. The Lord mocks the mockers, but is gracious to the humble. The wise inherit honor, but fools are put to shame. So God's telling us that by following his path, by following his word and his commands and having wisdom, that we will have honor. In this chapter, God is giving a blueprint for life, which is trusting God, walking in obedience, choosing wisdom over money, do good while we can, and receive God's discipline as love. And that's the real elixir of life and peace. And that is the real elixir of, and that's the real elixir of life and peace. And that's the real elixir of life and peace.